Hawks grabbed a commanding 3-2 series lead. Antoine Vermette netted the game winner.
It's Schuster. Pumped it back to the point, but it's picked up now and started right back in by Versteeg with speed. Let's get the shot away, and then it's back up. They score! It's Vermette! And it's 2-1 Blackhawks.
The Hawks can now win it all on Monday in Chicago. PGA Tour, the FedEx St. Jude Classic. Fabian Gomez tied atop the leaderboard with Greg Owen at 9 under par. Women's World Cup action taking a day off today from yesterday. Colombia downs France 2-0. Brazil a winner over Spain 1-0. England beats Mexico 2-1. And South Korea and Costa Rica played to a 2-2 tie. Baseball today underway at 1:08 Eastern in Detroit. Indians and Tigers. Kluber versus Simon. And at Marlins Park, it's Miami and Colorado. I'm Pete Fox. This is NBC Sports Radio.
This is KCAA.
Bob Vila here with my home improvement tip of the day. Though garage doors do a pretty good job of keeping bad guys away from your car, they're not so good at keeping out the elements. That's especially true if the floor in your garage is uneven. What to do? Try this. Open the garage door so that the bottom is about head high. Cut a length of 3/4 inch foam pipe insulation to fit the width of the door. Then position the insulation against the bottom of the door with the slit facing down. Next, spread the slit in the insulation and use a screw gun or electric drill to attach the insulation to the bottom of the door. To keep the screws from tearing through the insulation, you'll probably want to add washers around the heads of the screws. Pipe insulation doesn't exactly add to curb appeal, so if you don't want it poking out the bottom of the door so it's visible from the street, just drive your screws a little more towards the back side of the door than the front. Get more info at bobvila.com and right here at home with me, Bob Vila.
It's time for the KCAA Community Calendar, brought to you exclusively by Learn for Life, a growing network of public charter schools. The clear mission of Learn for Life is to motivate and mentor students who have dropped out of school and provide them with the personalized education and technical training necessary to advance their lives.
Here's a look at the KCAA Community Calendar. I'm Successful Brim. Remedy Bell Bonds is hosting their second annual live stream blood drive Saturday, June 20th from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. There will be entertainment and giveaways for all donors, so be sure to come by Arrowhead Lanes at 299 West Orange Show Road in San Bernardino for the second annual Remedy Bell Bonds blood drive from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. on Saturday, June 20th. Remember, your donation can save a life. For more information, call 909-433-9890. Call 909-433-9890. And that's a look at the community calendar on KCAA 1050 AM.
The KCAA Community Calendar is presented exclusively by Learn for Life, a growing network of public charter schools where students can complete their education on a part-time basis. To find a resource center nearest you, call 1-877-360-LEARN or visit Learn for Life online at learn4life.org. Miss one of your favorite shows? Don't worry, we've got your radio DVR right here on KCAAradio.com. Log on and listen to any show you want, anytime you want, on KCAA 1050 AM.
Good morning. This is Empire Talks Back. I'm Wallace Allen on the case for truth and justice with the right information to help improve the situation. Empire Talks Back is brought to you by West Side Story Newspaper, the Improved Association, and Medi-Cal. Yeah, you might get sick and you want to get well. That will be the time to call Medi-Cal. No stopping us now. This day we'll also spend a little time talking about the African Global Economic Development Summit, scheduled for August of this year, put together by Global Green. We'll have a guest in the house today. Mr. Abraham's going to talk to us a little bit about some specific businesses and opportunities that he knows of in Africa and other international places. And we're going to start the program with Mr. Glenn Towery. He is a veteran operating out of Texas, very concerned about the suicide element that's taking many of our veterans away based on the fact that they're probably not, damn it, being treated right. I shouldn't say it like that, so, well, I can't back up and take it back. Can I, Joe? Can I back that up and take that back? Now, I'd probably say it again anyway. Okay. Okay. And we have, of course, the Mood Master. I expect Mr. Jamal Lilly to pop in anytime, as well as hopefully Miss Alexis Reeves will be joining us to update us on her school situation and the fact that she's going to be leaving, headed for Temple University for orientation on July 10th. That'll be after the big July 4th celebration. I'd like to remind people that this is the period of time that we're spending to celebrate Juneteenth. Juneteenth, that great holiday that emanated out of Texas as a result of General Gordon Granger. Ooh, that's I talk about Texas, boy, and this guy from California gets real ticked off. I don't know what about Texas makes you feel that way, Mr. Mood Master, but
the Texans.
He says the Texans. I guess they must have beat up on a team of his, or maybe a guy from Texas probably took his girlfriend. That's probably. Is that why you started playing the bass guitar?
He was worried about my
Listen, as we get started here, Mr. Abraham, how are you this morning?
I'm doing fine, sir.
Excellent. Let me get you to talk into this microphone. All right. Now you've got some concerns and interest in doing business in Africa.
That's correct.
Tell us a little bit about your concerns. Tell us about the opportunities that you're aware of.
Okay, in Africa we have a big crisis. And
big opportunity too, because it's
big opportunity also.
It's got some of the fastest growing countries on the planet right there now in terms of their economy.
Yeah, that's where I'm coming from. I'm the CEO of Baba Digan Incorporated. I have at least 25 years of experience. I used to work with a big company, and then I pulled myself out of it to focus in Africa because they have a lot of opportunity in all areas. You're talking agro-business, fishing, poultry, farming, waste management,
everything. We have a country. We have a continent.
Right.
Some 146 countries in it.
Right.
And we're looking at some economies that are growing at 8% plus rates. Some of them are obviously working with mining, manufacturing. The Chinese are spending a lot of money moving into Africa.
The Chinese
see a lot of opportunity there, and I think what we're concerned about is that here in America, we don't want to miss that boat. We shouldn't.
No, we shouldn't. Because American products and services are highly demanded in Africa. But the Chinese are coming and then they are grabbing the opportunity.
Let's say it like this. Services are in need, and some of those services could be provided by America.
Right.
But at the same time, when you're waiting for something, when it shows up, it doesn't really matter so much where it came from.
Exactly.
So when we're looking at a nation that, as I understand, or a continent that's maybe 16% saturated with cell phones, leaving, some 84% of people still needing them.
Right.
I don't guess they're going to wait until the shipment comes directly from us here.
No.
So if we miss that opportunity, we've missed the opportunity.
Okay, that's where Baba Digan Incorporated is coming, because we wanna, we wanna make something about the gap, because I live here almost 30 years. I know what's going on here. And we want to do our best to export all product, technology, services, idea, American in Africa, because we need it. And then we have already network speaking all kind of language. They are ready, and then they're all pushing. I mean, when you're coming, when we're going to have this? And in the meantime, the Chinese have invaded Africa. No, that's the truth. That's the truth. They have invaded Africa.
Invaded. Yeah. Well, they're building roads. They're roads and highways. They're working to get the rights to build refineries.
Right.
And those that will have a large impact not only in Africa, but all over the world, especially when you start looking at the fact that many of the African countries are the largest oil exporters.
Right.
Nigeria, for instance.
Right.
A refinery, Nigeria, for instance, does not have its own refinery. they are sending their oil offshore to be refined, and getting a refinery in that country would make a lot of difference.
Exactly.
Yes.
And that one, we have a problem with that. First of all, the Chinese are coming with their services. Like if you have a contract with a Chinese company, what the CEO does of that company, he brings all Chinese people, the labor, rather than recruiting.
Rather than
the
using
people.
the indigenous people,
Yes.
they bring in new workers
from China. That's one. And then two, the local business people are complaining because the Chinese have invaded all the area of the thing. So now we have some problem. And then with the government, many African government, and then the local business people are asking, why are you bringing all these people we have here?
We have
you can
workers
help
here.
us and then do the same job that they're doing. So Baba Digan Incorporated have seen that because I have worked through all Africa, west, east, mainly west.
What type of work have you done? Are you exporting into Africa now?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, what type of products are you exporting?
Agricultural machinery, food, waste management, transfer of technology, whatever that, and helping. I have a woman working over there, and then I have to build up some schools, and then we have the waste management is another problem, and then I'm looking for a company who can do that, because all those waste, they can transform that in fertilizer and then put it back on the market. That's another area. And then also the water. And then, as you know, Africa has many problems with the purification of the water. We need that.
Well, once again, Africa isn't the only one with the water issue.
Exactly.
As you know, here in California, we have a drought that has many ramifications in terms of how people are having to adjust their use of water.
Right.
And certainly Africa has that as an issue. But at the same time, we're all surrounded by all of this ocean water. I don't know what people are doing to move toward that desalinization, but water is a big issue. Digging wells, I understand, is a big business in Africa.
Right.
And all of those things just to accommodate the people there, as well as to accommodate the rest of the planet's needs for the resources that are in Africa.
Right.
How do you go about getting yourself in a position to do business in Africa? What do you have to do? What's involved? I mean, can you just go and call somebody and create what's involved?
Yeah, that's the big problem, because most business people, particularly in America, it's not only in America, they think that if you have money, you can go straight and invest. You can do that. First of all, you have to know the people. They have to trust you. When you get there, they have to know you. If they don't know you, it doesn't matter how much money you have, they won't deal with you because they don't know you.
So it's the same as if I had a sack full of money and went to New York.
Right. You go there and the people are going to say, who's this?
Well, who is this with all this money, and can we get the money out of his pocket?
That's why Baba Digan, you need somebody who speaks the language, somebody who knows the people. So that's where we're coming. We go door to door. We expose the product. Of course, we have to be educated about the products or the services here. And then we talk. We do the marketing for the company, and then we start making order from America. And then that's very important, because we break the ice. And then the people that know us, they say, yeah, we know these people. And then from there, when we provide services or food or whatever, it goes mouth to mouth, and then city by city, or even country to country.
If I had a little nonprofit organization that I thought was very worthy and was trying to make some money, and wanted to perhaps get involved in import or export to Africa, well, what would the quickest way or the shortest way that you would think an organization could get involved and do that? And I'd like to get Joe to go on and let us take this break. And when we come back, I'm going to speak, I believe. Joe, is that Mr. Towery on the line? Yeah, when we come back, we're going to talk with a young man who has a very, very important nonprofit organization. They are working and operating to prevent suicide among veterans. And I know that Mr. Towery could use some money.
In Texas.
And I don't know if what you're talking about might be the kind of thing that his organization could get involved in to make some money. So when we return from this break, we're going to spend a little time talking with Glenn Towery and his suicide prevention TV line that's there to once again help prevent suicide among veterans. See if his money concerns are the kind that we might be able to solve in terms of giving him a little bit more information about how to do business with Africa. This is Empire Talks Back. I'm Wallace Allen. We're going to take a short break. We'll be right back.
Publish your legal notice in West Side Story newspaper. For the best service and the best rates, call 909-384-8131. Publishing legal notices in the city and county of San Bernardino since 1990. West Side Story provides friendly expert service. Call 909-384-8131 to benefit from budget-friendly rates. Whether a fictitious business name, a name change, a divorce summons, or any other legal or public notice, call West Side Story newspaper 909-384-8131. 909-384-8131. That's 909-384-8131.
Before I answer your question, have you signed up for Medi-Cal?
Baby, I already told you, all I need is your love to cover me.
And that may be true. But unfortunately, my love doesn't cover hospitalization, substance use disorder services, lab and prescription costs, contraceptives, annual checkups, maternity and newborn care, chronic disease management.
You do realize that I am down on one knee asking
Which reminds me, mental health is also covered.
Cool, I get it. Just know that you're never gonna find another man like me.
That may be true. But there are over 11 million Californians already covered through Medi-Cal.
So you're saying if I enroll, your answer is yes?
There's only one way for you to find out.
This has been another episode of Medi-Cal Can. Tune in next time when Rachel makes a startling discovery.
What do you mean I have to renew my Medi-Cal every year?
Get covered. Your well-being within reach.
KCAA is your CNBC news affiliate. We're the station that gets down to business.
This is Empire Talks Back. I'm Wallace Allen on the case for truth and justice. And unlike that young man who's trying to express his love and affection to that young lady in the Medi-Cal ad, I'm not crazy. Well, I don't know. People think I am, just like she thought he was. The man said, I'm on my knees. I want to marry you. And she said, well, I want to remind you about the mental health issues. Well, I don't know. Maybe you don't find that funny. I find that very interesting. Mr. Glenn Towery is on the line. Glenn Towery is a friend of mine and a friend of veterans all over the planet. Mr. Towery, how are you this morning?
I'm doing very fine this morning, Wally. It's good to be able to talk to you again. It's been a little while.
It's good to catch your breath, brother. You know, making roll call is very critical, and I think that's part of what we're talking about this morning. Glenn.
Yes, sir.
You are a veteran, and you have come up with a special TV line for veterans. Tell us about that.
Well, you know, the name of my nonprofit is the Veterans Suicide Prevention Channel, and it came about after I moved from sweet California to wonderful Texas.
Yeah, people wondered about your mental situation when you did that, but.
Right.
Yeah.
I heard a news report on television one day that 22 veterans a day were committing suicide. It gave me a lot of pause for thought. It made me think about friends and people that I served with, friends that I know that are veterans. And I thought that's a huge number. And
is that an accurate number, Glenn?
Actually, it's not an accurate number.
What is the accurate number?
Because many of the suicides that happen aren't counted as suicide. They're car wrecks and they're things that could be considered accidents that just aren't noted as suicides. Or if there's no suicide note, for instance, sometimes it's not counted as a suicide. So, and quite recently, they've discovered that female soldiers' suicides have ramped up almost to the level of men.
That's amazing.
So it's a big problem.
That is a big problem.
And so I decided to try initially to attack the problem. I first wondered if there was anything that I could do as a filmmaker. Wally, you know I've been a filmmaker for a long time now. And that first answer came back no. I couldn't think of anything that I could do, maybe make a PSA. And then early one morning, because I suffer with PTSD myself, I woke up and I got this idea to go and shoot interviews of veterans that I knew, so it would be like veteran to veteran, and ask them one question. If a veteran or a friend came to you and said, I am going to commit suicide, what words could you come up with to talk them out of it? And I asked them that question and turned on the camera and let it roll. And I did that about 15 or 16 times. And I posted them on YouTube, and I named the channel, the YouTube channel, the Veteran Suicide Prevention Channel. So my work was done, right? No, really. I patted myself on the back.
I know you, Glenn, and I know that opening the door for some people is very much all the success they want so they can peek inside. But when you open the door, you tend to want to go in and sit down and hang out and find the refrigerator. You definitely need to hook up with the bathroom. So I know you went all the way into it, and that's why I'm so proud to know you and extremely happy to be able to, in any type of way, help your effort. Because I know the level of sincerity that you're.
What we're trying to do now, we are going to create the nation's first national broadcast television channel for veterans and their family members. And I have to kind of give credit to my sister, who is a veteran, Stephanie, and her dog.
Well, dogs are
tell you why,
very
because
important.
I went to visit them after I did the YouTube channel and thought I did such a great job, and I was through. And I was on my way to New Orleans, and I stopped to visit her, and she said, well, let me go take you to dinner. She said, let me turn on the dog channel before I go. And I said, the dog channel? This was in Louisiana, by the way. She lives in Saline, Louisiana. And I said, oh. And then she turned it on, and I saw some balls and heard some barking. I said, oh, that's a local channel? And she said, no, that's a national channel. And it just hit me like a ton of bricks.
She turned the dog channel on for the dog to watch as she was leaving?
Yeah, those dogs are so precious, Wally. I'm telling you.
Oh, no, you don't have to explain to me. I've got Sherman. Sherman came to me when I was alerted that I had a prostate cancer potential. And Sherman came and decided to take me on walks every day and be sure that my health was getting better. And I'll be eternally grateful to Sherman for that very reason. No, I think dogs are great, but if dogs have a special channel, I'm sure that your brain went right over to, well, we should have a special channel for veterans.
It sure did.
Okay.
That's what happened. My mind was so on fire. When we left there, I told my wife, Juanita, I said, I am going to have to work much harder than I thought I was when I get back. And so I started out to create this national channel for veterans. And not only that, the idea has grown like any other idea. You know, the channel
well,
is
Glenn,
not only a channel.
Let's get people over to understand why, really why we're doing this. It isn't just to, add another channel. There's a problem. When you talk about veterans dying at a rate of more than 22 a day, and that's not inclusive of all of the deaths, that represents some that are suicide and some that are questionable. What help should be available?
No one is keeping any records on attempt.
That's true. So let me ask you this. When you started your helpline, you were concerned that there wasn't enough help for veterans. What type of help is supposed to be available as far as you know in terms of what the law is out there, what the administration says that they're doing? What should a veteran be able to expect if he's under that kind of pressure and feeling like suicide?
Well, a veteran should be able to go to the VA and a number of other health services that can be accessed online or by telephone.
Have you dealt with the VA on this specifically for people other than yourself.
Yes, I have. And, part of the problem with the VA is the VA has set up a sort of, and I'm not bashing the VA, but I want to just say what I understand about it since I've been in the VA system a long time. The VA has kind of set up, its system is an adversarial system for many veterans. And there are many veterans that have gotten turned off from that.
Wait a minute, Glenn. You mean to tell me that veterans, the VA is adversarial? I mean, people who don't understand words, that means that they tend to conflict with the vets? That's the attitude that they operate with?
Instances,
are we still seeing that since we've put a foot in certain behinds as a result of the information about vets in the hospital, how long they've been having to wait? I know administrative-wise, they've said that they're making changes. Are you telling me that as of today or this week you're speaking to vets and the situation is still adversarial? They are still finding that it's a hill they've got to climb up instead of a place that they can go for real help? I mean, we're going to have to get somebody from the Vets Administration on to discuss that, because I'm under the impression that they're working hard to make some real changes there. What's needed?
Well, let me qualify that with this statement.
No, keep your foot swinging, brother. Because
if service at the VA, first of all, you have to be a veteran. Second of all, you have to show cause of injury, and second of all, you have to go through the VA system in order to qualify totally for their services.
Let me ask you something here. I keep interrupting, but if you come come out of the service, when you're released, you mean to tell me they don't already have records of your injury, of your you may want to come up to the microphone there, Mr. Garcia. You mean to tell me that they don't have this information already, that you have to go dig it up and bring it to them?
Actually, you have to go dig up that information, especially if you want to qualify for certain services at the VA.
It seems like you qualify as a result of being you're a veteran. What do they call your release papers?
I forget what it is. Discharge papers? You mean your discharge papers?
Yeah, your discharge papers?
I'm not sure what the number is, but you have to approve everything that they already know. And if you don't prove it with all the documentation, you don't get anything. You have to follow the protocol. It's not that hard. If you want something, you need something, you got to follow. If you follow protocol, you'll get everything you want. But they put you through all the...
But we're talking about somebody now who has some type of injury, some type of attitudinal dysfunction, someone who is now operating in a bureaucracy that maybe they're not used to, and they're sick, and you're telling me they're the ones that have to be responsible for bringing that information?
You have to prove to the government who you are, what you did. You have to bring everything. If you were divorced, you got to bring that too. And I have a cousin staying with me. He came from Hawaii. He was a military. He was artillery in Vietnam. He found out he got a pension. Every combat veteran gets a pension. It might be not the whole lot, but they got something.
Somebody's keeping the record of that, because I'm sure they're not going to give you more than you've got coming. So that means that there is some type of shadow documentation that's already within the system.
You have to prove everything. I haven't asked them. Don't you have my discharge papers here and all that?
The way the nomenclature of the VA is set up in a way to where the process itself is lengthy, and you have to prove by someone going through your medical records that you have a right to service by way of certain things that happened to you while in service for the military.
I can understand a certain amount of process and procedure. You've got to go through that, but I also understand that it's the process and procedure for someone who has not served the country should be maybe a little tighter than someone who has served the country. I just don't. As a person who appreciates the work and appreciates the circumstance that has been created as a result of the work by veterans, I just don't want to see them go through this. I don't want to see that when I pull up to a gas station.
That is the present situation right now. And you have a lot of veterans now that are turned off by that circumstance, by the nomenclature, by the way that the VA operates. And just simply will not come in. And
Okay.
I think that many of these veterans are the ones that we're losing.
Okay, some of the people are not coming in. What I need to know is find out what can people who are as upset about hearing this as I am, 22 veterans committing suicide a day, what can we do to help an organization like yours that is trying to call attention to that? And we're going to take a short break, and when we come back, Glenn,
I want to say something.
I'd like for you to give us the information that we need to help you do what you're going to do. And once again, I'd like to see if money is one of those things, and what are you doing to try to raise some money. And Mr. Garcia, our mood master, you want to say something real quick? Let me get that in before we leave.
Most of those guys that we're losing can't function, cannot do the paperwork themselves. Somebody needs to pick them up and run them through it with holding their hand, because they can't function. They're not all there, man. They went to war. They don't know what to do. You guys got to help them.
Right. Okay, we're going to take a short break and see exactly what we can do to participate in that level of help. We're speaking with Glenn Towery. He has put together a veteran suicide prevention channel for you and I to watch and heed and possibly use to send some money to help these guys out. This is Empire Talks Back. I'll be right back. We're going to play one short commercial. We'll be right back.
Publish your legal notice in West Side Story newspaper. For the best service and the best rates, call 909-384-8131. Publishing legal notices in the city and county of San Bernardino since 1990. West Side Story provides friendly expert service. Call 909-384-8131 to benefit from budget-friendly rates. Whether a fictitious business name, a name change, a divorce summons, or any other legal or public notice, call West Side Story newspaper 909-384-8131. 909-384-8131. That's 909-384-8131.
You're listening to KCAA, your good neighbor along the way.
This is Empire Talks Back. I'm Wallace Allen, speaking with Mr. Glenn Towery, man concerned, a veteran himself, concerned about the suicide rate among veterans. 22 a day is the figure that he is providing us at this time, and that's just too many. That's too much death for people who've given their lives to create freedom for so many of us. So, Mr. Towery, what can we do to help? What can we do to help you raise some money? And one of the things I'm concerned about is you being able to really sustain the operation that you're involved with. And as we're speaking here with Mr. Abraham, maybe there's some import-export business that you might be able to get involved in, taking advantage of the tremendous needs, economic needs in Africa. But anyway, what is it that your organization needs most, and what can we do to help you?
Well, right now we're cash-strapped, and it takes millions of dollars to run any television channel that is on the level of the channels like the History Channel or something like that. And that certainly is what we're shooting for. We have a crowdfunder that's coming up. We've been planning it for a while. Our crowdfunder will be on Indiegogo.com.
When will that be in operation?
It will launch on June the 22nd,
June 22nd.
2015.
June 22nd.
Now, we're looking to raise as much capital as possible to get ourselves a facility. We need a nice home where we can have our own broadcast studios, equipment, and begin
what
to
type of
create
figure?
more
What's the figure that we're looking for in the crowdfunding effort? How much money we're looking for?
Initially, we are looking at trying to raise $1 million.
Okay. Well, one
That
thing
is a
about
drop in the
crowdfunding,
bucket.
crowdfunding says that's not a whole lot. You know, so
no, that's not a whole lot, but we're looking at that as seed money to get us started, and that's why I said initially. We are going to have to raise many more millions, but we need to get our foundation and get our legs up under us, and in order to be able to create productions and shows and programs.
Well, I think we understand what's involved with what you do after you get the money. You know, we talk about a TV station, we're talking about programming, we're talking about personnel, we're talking about equipment, and the main thing is that people get a chance to hear how to get involved. Glenn, I'm going to invite you to come back on our program how long will your crowdfunding operation last?
Our crowdfunding operation is going to start June 22nd and last to August the 15th.
Okay, so the first Sunday then after you launch, or the second Sunday, we'll have time. Okay, we'll talk, but I want you to come back and excite people about the crowdfunding opportunity once you're set up, so that we can see if we cannot get people to call in and actually do that. One of the things I'd like to see too, Glenn, is for self-sustainability, are you guys at all interested in going into some type of business that will help make that money, as well as the fact that hopefully you'll be able to get some type of underwriters and sponsors for your channel once you get it set up? So what I'd like for you to do is kind of hang in here and listen to some of the things we're going to talk about as we discuss the economic opportunity that's taking place in Africa. We have a African Global Economic Development Summit that's being put together by our company out here called Global Green, taking place on this August 6th through August 8th at the University of Southern California. They are wanting to invite people to come out and see exactly what type of businesses are available, what type of subcontracts and contracts are available. Mary Flowers, the proprietor of Global Green, has this project herself that's some $3.4 billion that has to do with both growing food and a food processing plant and getting that food distributed. So this is an opportunity. I don't know if you're ready to come home on August 6th and 8th, Glenn, and California is going to be home for you. I know that Texas is doing well, and we're glad that they're hosting you nicely, but I know that California is home, and so we're keeping the stove hot for you.
Well, thank you very much.
That wasn't me.
So, Glenn, I thank you, and we'll look forward to talking to you more on supporting the Veterans Suicide Prevention Channel. Mr. Glenn Towery, thank you very much.
I look very much forward to that, and thank you so very, very much for having me on the show, and I hope to be able to do another show.
Oh, you will, unless you decide to go somewhere, and we're not going to let that happen. So we'll be talking to you very soon, Glenn. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much,
Mr. Abraham.
Yes, sir.
There are many organizations like Glenn Towery's that are very, very sincere about their work, that need to be self-sustaining.
Right.
Crowdfunding and people making donations, possibly a good way to start, but to be self-sustaining, really need to be in some type of economic system making some money.
Right.
Of all of the things that you see taking place available in Africa now, what kind of things do you recommend for individuals who really want to get involved and find out how to do business in Africa?
Okay. First of all, they have to know what kind of a business they want to do, because you have services, you have an idea,
so
you have
they should be kind of sticking with maybe what their passion is about.
Right.
But sometimes, if my passion may not be in line with what some economic opportunities are.
Right.
Are you aware of some specific export or things that we could export out of the United States that people need in Africa right now?
Yes.
Such as
agriculture machinery.
Agriculture machinery. Okay, so
with all accessory, brand or new.
Okay,
all
so
new.
How do I get some agricultural machinery and pay for it and get it to Africa? How do you do that?
Well, like I say, that's where we're coming, and then.
Well, that's what I'm saying for the average person out there who would like to get in business, and you're saying that people should do that.
Right.
How would they get the information to do that? Are you a consultant that would make yourself available to help people do that?
Yes, that's why I'm the link between. That's what I want to promote. African business and then in the United States. So we know the people, we know the needs, so we talk to them.
What are the needs?
They need, like I say, first of all, agricultural machinery.
Okay, and I just asked you that question. Now, we're talking about tractors, agricultural machineries, tractors and those big things that move the ground.
Right.
Okay. How do I get something like that? I'm Wallace Allen sitting right here at this thing, and at this desk. I've got a little money, and I'd like to do what you're talking about. So how do I do it?
Well, if you like, I will come back to you and I will give you all the detail, what kind of tractor or machinery, because I don't want to take your money and go ahead buy a tractor or whatever.
Okay.
So I will provide you all those information. And from overseas, I'm going to go contact them because we're talking. We say, hey, we have a businessman. He want to help you. He want to buy your need or whatever. Are you interested? We're going to talk. They're going to make a deal. Yes, we want it. How many? They're going to tell us when he's coming. So we're going to prepare all those. You know, like I said, we're going to be your eye, your brain, your ear, everything. So that's what we do because we want you to be successful.
We call that a consultant.
Yes.
You're not going to get to be my brain. You're going to get to be my eyes. You're going to bring me some information.
Right.
I'm going to cut it up and decide whether I'm going to do this or not. Okay? So when you give me an idea, you're going to have to give me more than, hey, what do you want to do? This is why I'm suggesting and asking you too.
Right.
This conference, this summit,
Right.
that Mary Flowers is putting together on August 6th through the 8th
Right.
will have actual people from Africa who are doing contracts, looking for subcontractors, contractors. By the way, are you registered? Are you going to be at the Global Summit?
Definitely.
So that would be an opportunity where, once again, where you would be able to talk directly to people, give them an idea based on what their passion is, how to create a link to Africa and take advantage of a good, strong money-making situation. Mr. Evans is on the line. Mr. Evans is one of our... Come on in, Jamal. Golly, were you hiding and stuff?
Good morning.
Good morning, my friend. How are you?
Excellent.
Yeah, we're as you hear, talking about African economy and opportunity. What does this do for you right now, Mr. Evans? I know that we've talked in the past about the fact that your company does things that helps highways and cities stay and keep their lights, their red lights and traffic signals in some kind of sequence that prevents accidents and allows the traffic to flow. What else is interesting to you about African economy or doing business in Africa?
The trend. That's the future.
This is
the future. One of the major future markets of the world. Folks look too much at what's going on today. And they say, oh, this problem, that problem. If you look at history, you've got decades, centuries of the same kind of news, always. Now, the question is, do you pay attention to that, or do you realize that this too shall pass and that new things are coming and prepare for those? A business with no debt is not a good business to buy. Why? Because they haven't used their credit to prepare to do business in the future. Africa represents the future. People that stake out a position there now will enjoy it, just like coming to America in the early days.
Yeah, one of the things that many people look for immediately is, all of the comforts. And when you look for all of the comforts, that means you are a consumer. And really, we're not talking about consumers. We're talking about investors. We're talking about visionaries. We're talking about people who see opportunity.
Who provide comfort.
Yes. And Mr. Lilly's
here.
In other words,
Go ahead. In capitalism, if you sell, you must buy. So that means that if you must produce. If you buy. Well, if you don't produce anything, the only thing you have to sell is your labor. But if you own some land and can grow some crops...
Well, there's another position for people who don't produce, too. That's the almighty middleman, the person who understands what's going on both sides of the deal.
Precisely.
But you can own the means of production. You can own a piece of a company that's making money in Africa.
Yes.
And you put money in your pocket through doing that.
And that's exactly what Mr. Abraham is talking about. That's the goal of the African Global Economic Development Summit. Mr. Lilly, you've got something to add to that, I'm sure.
Definitely. But, first what you have is a two-tiered situation. You have an immediate need, and then you have the more important, in some ways, needs of how to get to the point where you can produce on the scale that Africa really needs, and that requires infrastructure. The immediate needs that Mr. Abraham was talking about, you're talking about agricultural equipment, you're talking about medical supplies, medical equipment, and access to refrigeration and things like that, and sanitation and all that kind of stuff. But that then gets into infrastructure. So you now have to have an electric grid. You now have to have roads. You now have to have, wastewater treatment and all of that. So when you're talking about an immediate opportunity for suppliers for the things that Africa needs right now, it's everything from consumer goods, bandages and medical supplies that can help people with first aid needs, all the way to the situation where he's talking about with factors of production and means of production like agricultural equipment. Those things can be developed easily through U.S. agencies that already exist. If you don't have the money, say you're a veteran, we're talking about these veterans a minute ago, go to the U.S. office, the U.S. Trade Development Agency.
I want to take a short break.
Okay.
And come back, because that's exactly what we want to tell people, is how they can get involved on the cutting edge of the economic opportunity that the continent of Africa represents, all the way from the very specific things that Mr. Abraham is talking about to investing in opportunities that are going to take more time because to develop.
But you can do some of these things right now.
Yeah, there are things that we can do right now, and that's what some of the folks out there want to hear about, like Mr. Towery's operation. They are a nonprofit. They need some money now. Crowdfunding is going to help. But maybe that crowdfunding will put them in a position to do some investment that will really give them some long-term sustainability. We're going to take a short break, Joe, and we'll be right back and talk more about how you, Mr. Jones, can take advantage of what looks like voids but are really opportunities. Make some money.
But I'm not the only one. I hope someday.
Publish your legal notice in West Side Story newspaper. For the best service and the best rates, call 909-384-8131. Publishing legal notices in the city and county of San Bernardino since 1990. West Side Story provides friendly expert service. Call 909-384-8131 to benefit from budget-friendly rates. Whether a fictitious business name, a name change, a divorce summons, or any other legal or public notice, call West Side Story newspaper 909-384-8131. 909-384-8131. That's 909-384-8131.
For more local radio every day, tune into KCAA Loma Linda.
Opportunity everywhere. Every time someone says, I got a problem, that's an opportunity for someone to solve. That's an opportunity for someone to create a cash flow situation. When we have a continent like Africa, where we have countries that are emerging now, where their gross national product is coming in at large numbers like 8% growth, that's an opportunity. Now, it doesn't mean that when you get there you're running into 12-star hotels, but that means that the people that are there who are working and are trying to put it together would appreciate a 12-star if there's a such thing, and could probably afford it if you could put that together. So the presence of opportunity takes a little bit of acuteness on your eye to figure it out. We call it vision. It's an opportunity to fill the hole with something that the people that are coming around are willing to pay a little money. It's like a water fountain in the desert.
Sure.
You have that opportunity. Some of the very specific opportunities, so that an organization like Mr. Towery's Veteran Suicide Prevention Channel, what type of little opportunities, or I say little opportunities, what type of small entry issues, something that you don't have to be a large conglomeration to take advantage of. Getting together to put some money as Mr. Abraham was suggesting, to buy farm equipment, that takes a little bit of money. Are there some things that we can think of that are a little easier to get into?
One of the first things that comes off the top of my head is cell phones.
Cell phones.
Now listen, Africa's full of cell phones, right?
Well,
but
no.
The cheap
16%
Chinese-made.
It's only 16% saturation with the cell phone.
That's
business.
true. That's true. But they have a lot of supply. But they're either not affordable, or they're very low standard, very low quality.
Okay.
So what you would do is you would bring cell phones that are higher quality, same makers by the way, but the Chinese ship us in the United States the higher quality. Same label, same model, same everything. So you bring them from here. I can't tell you how many African people ask me, next time I come, would I bring them a specific cell phone, and they'll pay a pretty penny for it because they're tired of theirs breaking down. Just start with a small case, of cell phones. You can get up to a container in a very short amount of time just through the markup.
Okay, so you're telling me, let me try to use my my Mount Vernon Avenue smartness here. Okay, so you're telling me that I can maybe get together with a couple of friends and spend $5,000 and buy as many cell phones as I could get
and
for that.
You can take them and triple your money.
And go and get me a ticket to Africa, say Nigeria or Ghana or Ivory Coast. I understand Ivory Coast is doing very well too.
Right. Yeah. What they want is things that are made to what they call an American standard.
Exactly.
Now, do I have a problem getting on the airplane with a suitcase full of
you just declare
cell phones?
That's why we can help you. No.
You just declare that, and don't try to sneak over there with it.
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
Because
do I have to get a specific kind of license? Is there anything special that we have to do beyond buying the cell phones, making the arrangements, and letting the authorities know that we want to do this?
No, here's the thing. You don't even necessarily have to buy the cell phones if you can arrange a consignment situation. That's your creativity. But there's other things. I'm using that as a quick kickoff point to make a larger point. Africa needs all sorts of consumer goods that aren't bulky, they don't cost a lot of money, and you don't have to start out with a massive shipment volume in order to make good money. And if they're American-made goods, the U.S. government will help you, give you about 80% of the money that you need in order to do this. And if you're a veteran, it'll be even higher to get the goods in line, get them shipped, and you don't even have to travel to Africa. They'll help you every step of the way, find your suppliers and whatnot. That's what I'm saying about the U.S. Office of Trade Development.
And so by coming to the African Global Economic Development Summit on August 6th through the 8th,
you will meet these individuals.
I will meet people like Mr. Abraham and others who can help facilitate my interest in trading in Africa.
And let me elaborate. At this summit, you're not going to get the normal, here's what you do, here's some forms to fill out, here's some literature to read, call us later. What you're going to get is people telling you, come to see me on this day and I will walk you through the process. In between that time, at the summit, they will point you in the directions that you need to be pointed in so that you're prepared for that meeting. So when you get to the meeting, substantive things actually occur at that time. It's not going to be a runaround, a call me later type of situation. That's what's needed for the small entrepreneur to be encouraged, because many times we go to these summits and we hear, or these events, and we hear a lot of talk, but it doesn't result in actual trade development.
So we're in a position that if you have a little hustle idea,
you can find out how to make that idea go.
It happen. So if I were Mr. Towery, or you were Mr. Towery,
I would gather up my veterans. I would go and see, first of all, about U.S. Contracting opportunities to supply nuts and bolts, literally, to supply nails and hammers, literally, screwdrivers, literally, that are made right here. The veterans get set-asides for contracting opportunities.
So
they get extra points. So when they go and apply for this, it's an advantage because they're more likely to get the contract.
I hope you're listening, Mr. Towery, because your crowdfunding may be even more attractive to the crowd if they realize that the money that they're going to provide you is going to have an opportunity to triple or quadruple, to become part of a self-sustaining operation as opposed to something that's just going to get used up buying equipment.
Right. You're talking about something that is now becoming seed capital.
Right.
To grow an operation that what you were talking about a minute ago, now it's self-sustaining. So now you're in that situation, you're doing this. Now the fact that you're growing, you're getting orders and things like this allows you to expand into the larger infrastructure development type of opportunities. Those are worth millions and billions, and the U.S. government is giving that
That's
money
if
away.
you can maintain your passion for work after you make a couple of $1 million.
I think most folks would feel pretty good enough
Well,
to
some of
continue
these
with
guys, some people, make a couple $100 million, they don't want to work anymore.
Hey, look, well,
I don't know.
I don't understand.
I don't know how I would feel at that point. I'm anxious to find out.
But there are real success
Mr. Abraham,
stories.
this is the type of thing that we're talking about, correct?
Exactly.
That people, if they come with a little bit of an idea of their problem, maybe their solution will be brought out. So you're able to come in as a person who is in direct contact with people in Africa every day.
Right.
And if somebody says they came to you with a bunch of batteries that they were able to demonstrate were brand new batteries and still usable, you could probably figure out somebody over there that'd be willing to buy a shipload of them.
Oh, definitely, because that's what they're looking for. They're looking for American name.
Right.
The same brand. It can be Chinese. You have two products. You say this is Chinese, this is American. People are going to grab the American thing because that's what they want.
Okay.
So I'm in touch with them because I've been working with the farmer, business, organization, government, all those in touch. I go one by one. I have this product. I say, this is for this. And then say, because I speak the language.
Yes.
And then say, okay, I need maybe 1 container of this. And then you go somewhere, you go mouth by mouth. And before you know, it is the whole country is over. They say, okay, Mr. Abraham brought some battery, and then they are very good. People are gonna come and make an order. That's how we work.
So we have the opportunity both at that level and then the larger infrastructure level where they're building highways, where they're building refineries, where power plants, all of these things that people need in order to get a country to flourish. And when we talk about countries, one of the things that I think you're able to talk about, Mr. Lilly, is the high quality of growth, the actual numerical growth that's taking place.
If you look at the website, you have the figures right on the website. For Age Summit, it talks about the growth rates.
Yes.
Many of these growth rates are 5, 6, 7, 8%.
Our time is really short, folks, so there's a couple of things that I'd advise you to do. One, Mr. Abraham, give us your phone number.
Okay, my phone number is 213-985-5332. And you want my email also?
No, just the one so that they don't get confused. Give them that number again,
213-985-5332. Now, anything you want.
If you have an organization and you're a nonprofit and you're trying to figure out what can I do to make a little bit of money to become self-sustaining, I think you might want to give Mr. Abraham a call because he can guide you and be of assistance in that. Under any circumstances, you need to get on your website and go to AGED Summit. Aged Summit, African Global Economic Development, AGEDsummit.com, so that you can sign up and attend this event. Right. If you have a nonprofit organization, you're trying to make money and you don't attend this event, you're not trying to make any money. You just want to keep on begging. But if you want to become self-sustaining, you need to attend this event to get more information about Africa, to get more information on an ongoing basis about Africa and how fast it's growing. Go to Africa.com. Africa.com will blow your mind with the things that they can tell you that are really good and interesting about opportunity in Africa. It's a great site. Indeed. Listen, I do appreciate you being here, Abraham. Time is up. You're on the quickest radio time on the planet, the quickest hour on the planet. I want to thank Mr. Towery for reminding us that we have a responsibility to our veterans, and we need to live up to that. Mr. Lilly, again next week. All you folks who thought Adrian Dove would be with us, he's planning for his Juneteenth. He won't be back for another 2 weeks. This is Empire Talks Back. I'm so grateful for spending the time with you, and I want to thank us for being here, and I want to anticipate we'll be back next week under two circumstances. One, if the good Lord's willing. Two, if the creek don't rise. Thank you very much.
You,
God
Mr.
bless
Wallace,
you.
For,
You're on board KCAA's Inland Talk Express. KCAA, Loma Linda, 1050 AM. The station that leaves no listener behind.
How it would end.
Turned off by Kruger, taken along by Shaw. 2 seconds and 1, and the Blackhawks lead the series. More snarl at the end of the game. Antoine Vermette winds up getting the winning goal for the second time in this series.
The great Doc Emmerich on NBCSN. Ben Bishop on heading back to the United Center, down 3-2.
That is what it is. We put ourselves in the situation. We had to do it against Detroit. We were going to have to win another game anyways. And now we just put a little bit more pressure on ourselves. But